first of all, let's just describe what we're talking about with extension. So extension, right? So if I take my spine, this is flexion, right? And this is extension, right? And if I look at the golf swing, right? If I look at most people in the golf swing, as they rotate, if you were to look on that screen and you drew a line, like right down my spine, it would look like I stay flexed throughout my entire golf swing. That's what we call maintaining posture, right? The problem is if I stand this way, here's flexion. If I actually stayed flexed and rotated, if you look from the camera here, this is what staying flexed would look like, right? Nobody does this. Nobody swings like this. That's maintaining flexion. So what they do is instead, they don't maintain flexion. What players do is they actually stand up. But now they don't look like this either. What they do is they side bend, right? So basically what they're doing is players are replacing flexion with side bend in the backswing. So what they do is they do this. They start flexed, they rotate, they side bend, stand up. Rotate, side bend, stand up. Rotate, side bend, stand up. And when they get to the top of the backswing, if I were to come back over here, you'll notice I'm way side bent, but if I turn this way, I'm not flexed anymore.
That's right.
They actually extend in the golf swing.
That's
right? So what happens is, and the best players in the world, on the driver, they flex maybe 36 degrees in their trunk. At the top of the backswing, they're like 0 to 5 degrees flexed, right? So they've almost lost 30, 35 degrees of flexion. So,
but we don't really talk about that in golf instruction.
So why does that matter? Why does it matter? The normal pattern in the backswing is extension. But what happens if you extend too far? So if you start from 35 degrees and you extend and you just keep going, you go past the 0 and you get to like 10 degrees. Well, now here's what happens. So watch. I stand tall, I bend left, I stay 0 or just slightly flexed, and I rotate. That looks like most players, right? If I do this, if I stand tall, left side bend, but I extend too far, and now I rotate, what's that called? That's reverse spine angle, right? So reverse spine angle is when the natural motion of extension goes too far, right? And a lot of people do this because if they can't extend from their spine, right, they'll try and do it more from the lower back. They'll do more lower back, and the lower back is great at extending, okay, and it'll keep going. Sometimes the hip extension is a problem, and so everything comes from the spine, they extend backwards, and now we get into the number one cause of lower back pain.
We do, and a lot of people don't fix it because they have those limitations, they feel like they can hit it further, because they can get their arms higher or they can get the club back further by extending their spine.
And I think there's so much chatter on social media where people are going like, hey, TPI says that you shouldn't extend your spine. Well, first of all, TPI has never said, of course golfers extend their spine. They're like, come to a TPI class and we'll show you. But basically, the spine extends. Reverse spine angle is an accentuation of the extension. They go too far.
Overextension.
It's overextension, right? So I mean, nobody plays golf like this. That would be maintaining flexion. No one would ever say that.
And you might get away with it when you're younger and flexible. A lot of ladies are hypermobile. They just keep turning, because that's another way you can get extended, right? Just rotating.
And if you think about it, like, okay, some people are like, well, why don't you test extension in your level 1 screen? We do, right? So one of the most important things to be able to do is maintain your posture and get your arms up in the air. How do we do that? Well, deep squat. I mean, if you can't extend your spine, no chance you're passing our deep squat. Then we even check to see, can you flex your shoulders in full extension? There's your lat test, right? There's just those 2 tests alone will highlight if we have some type of thoracic extension, and if that doesn't catch it, well, extension and rotation are coupled motions.
That's right.
So we found real clear, if you can't rotate your trunk, see the trunk rotation, if you can't squat, dude, you have an extension problem, right? And now, how do I know if you're just using your lower back? Well, most people who just extend from their lower back, they're in what we call lower cross. Now all of a sudden the pelvic tilt test shows positive, the bridge test shows positive. I mean, we have 5, 6 tests that are testing this specifically. They might not look like extension, but they're what we use to try and identify these problems, and they're very clear when they have these problems. And those are the people who usually have reverse spine angles. Right? They have everything's deactivated, they're using the lumbar spine, they can't extend, and then all of a sudden the 90-90 shows up because they lose it in their posture, and it just goes down this entire chain reaction of how this affects the golf swing. And so the answer is, how much extension is too much? Well, at the top of the backswing, if we look under motion capture, if they get past 5 degrees negative, like let's say normal is 0 to 5 degrees flexed, okay, I'll let you go about 5 degrees this way. If you get past 5 degrees, if you're at 7 degrees, 10 degrees, 15 degrees of extension of the backswing, it's not if, it's when your back's going down. Now, there's only one caveat to that, and that is on the super flexible, like John Daly, right? because I just said extension and rotation are coupled motions. The more you rotate, the more you extend.
Yeah.
If you get your shoulder turn past 90 degrees, like if you get to a 100-degree shoulder turn, of course you're going to extend more. You have more time that you're extending, right? Club's going longer, you're extending as you're rotating. On those players, we might get 5, 10, 15 degrees of extension, and I'd say, well, you have to, or else your spine would break. That's your coupled motion. And that would be okay. Not saying it's not putting stress on your body, because more coil puts more stress on your body, but that would be normal. But not many people have that big of a shoulder turn, right?
So I think a lot of the problem we have is that we look at these elite level athletes on the tour that might go past parallel or might go long, and everybody thinks, well, they do it and they hit it miles because of that. But you don't understand that these athletes are, before they go out and play, their bodies are being kind of massaged and warmed up after. And they're great athletes. So, their structure though, long term.
But that's what breaks down on them too.
Exactly.
It's not like they're immune to that.
Yeah. Well, over time, it's not a matter of if.
That's why I said we were just teaching power two with Jason Zubak. Jason Zubak's got one of the biggest shoulder turns in history, and he goes to extension. Well, how many times have he hurt a lower back?
A lot of injuries.
A lot of injuries there. And that's just the nature of the beast. Right?